Hey guys, what's up? How are you all doing today? I hope you all are having a very great time. Today we are going to learn Amazon DynamoDB. This is another database service offering from AWS. So we'll learn what is Amazon DynamoDB, its features, its core components, what are the benefits, use cases and everything. And at the end we will summarize what is basically Amazon DynamoDB. Okay, so let's get started. To begin with, let's understand what is the Amazon DynamoDB service. So, Amazon DynamoDB is a fast and flexible NoSQL database service for all applications that needs consistent single-digit millisecond latency. This is very important. So, if you remember, so far we were talking about RDS, Relational Database Service, and DynamoDB is just opposite of what RDS does. So, RDS was, instead of SQL database, so here DynamoDB is a NoSQL database service. So that is the main difference. This is a fully managed service, so it means we don't need to bother about installation, configuration, patching, all those things with DynamoDB, and it supports both document and key value data models that we will discuss further as our session goes on. So it's a flexible data model and reliable performance make DynamoDB a great fit for mobile, web, gaming, advertising, technology, Internet of Things, and other applications. So these are some of the use cases like mobile, web, gaming, etc., where DynamoDB service is being used. In DynamoDB, tables, items, and attributes. These are the core components. Which are tables, items, and attributes are the core component that we work with normally. And a table is nothing but a collection of items, and each item is collection of attributes. So you can say attribute is attribute. Using attributes, we can a group of attributes will form an item, and group of items will form a table. So that we'll learn with an example in the next slide. DynamoDB uses primary keys to uniquely identify each item in a table and secondary indexes to provide more querying flexibility. So it will assign a primary keys to each of the item in the of the table, so that we can have unique identity for that. So that is the another feature of this one. And secondary indexes are also being used to provide more querying flexibility. Okay, and we can use DynamoDB strings to capture data modifications event in the DynamoDB. Now let's move ahead. So this is just, you can say, an example of a DynamoDB table. As we have seen in the earlier slide, you can see this is a simple table of peoples. You can see person ID. These are some of this consisting of the attributes of this. So here attribute will be one, each you can consider attribute as something that does not need to be broken down further. So for example, personal ID 102, last name Jones, first name Mary, etc. So here even in the first example, last name Smith, these are you can say as attributes. And in the similar way, when we form an Excel sheet, so attribute is nothing but a column, you can say. We have in the Excel sheet rows and columns, so it will be similar to the column, that is attribute. So the group of these attributes will form items. So here as depicted here, so this there is a group of these items which will form these of attributes will form items here. Here another here in this example, address has multiple sub attributes. Okay, here you can see. So here in this case, address will be item, okay, and street, city, state, zip code will be your attributes. So this is a very common example, or simple example with respect to DynamoDB table. Now let's talk about what are the benefits and features of using DynamoDB. So very first benefit of using DynamoDB is performance. It provides, it supports some of the world's large scale applications by providing consistent single digit millisecond response time. That is single digit millisecond latency is the one of the benefit of using DynamoDB. This is the most important thing. Then no servers to manage, as we have seen in the previous slide. So this is fully managed service. DynamoDB is a serverless, and it is fully managed service. Hence we don't need to bother about provisioning, patch, manage server, etc. To maintain, install, maintain or operate software. So DynamoDB automatically scales table up and down to adjust for capacity and maintain performance. It is fully automated. We don't need to worry about these things. Another feature is another benefit is enterprise ready. So DynamoDB is built for mission critical workloads, including support for ACID transactions. So if you are aware, ACID transaction are the ACID, these are the properties of a database. So it supports ACID transactions for a broad set of applications that require complex business logic. So these are some of the benefits. There are other benefits as well, but these are some of the benefit that we can list out here. With respect to features, so why DynamoDB is having the millisecond response time is mainly because it stores the data on SSD storage. Since it uses the SSD storage, there is no moving part, unlike the traditional HDD with magnetic hard disk. Hence the performance is very fast when talking about DynamoDB. Another feature of DynamoDB is the data will be, so there will be 3 copies of data in the DynamoDB table, and it will be spread across 3 geographically distinct data centers with respect to high availability. So this is very important. And next feature is read consistency. So here there are 2 types. Eventual read consistency is default read consistency type. Another is strong read consistency. So here you can say there is a 1 second rule for this one. Say for example, the application is writing data to DynamoDB, and if application after writing the data after 1 second, if application is going to read the data, so that will be the default consistency, which is called as eventual read consistency. However, if say application has written the data to DynamoDB and within the same second, or like before 1 second lapses, the data has been written and data needs to be read, so in that case strongly consistency is required. So these are some of the features of DynamoDB. Now let's talk about data security with Amazon DynamoDB. So as with every service, the security is most important thing, and so is the true for DynamoDB as well. Here there are several provisions for the security when we use the DynamoDB service. The very first thing is encryption at rest using encryption keys stored in the KMS, that is key management service. So we can use the key management service and encrypt the data at rest, that is data which is stored. So there are 2 types, encryption at rest and encryption in transit. Encryption in transit can be achieved using the SSL, secure socket layer, etc., or HTTPS like that. And with respect to encryption at rest, the data is residing in the hard disk, or in this case on the SSD. So we can encrypt the data using KMS service. Then we can also secure the way the DynamoDB can be accessed. So we can use Site-to-site VPN Direct Connect. I'm sure like these are the services we are not discussed so far, like most of the services from them, but you can the Site-to-site VPN is if we can create a tunnel so that only end user can access the services at the Amazon. Same is true about Direct Connect. IAM policies and rules. So here we can do permission such a way that we can either access the entire DynamoDB or only some of the attributes can be accessed. So that way we can secure it. Then we can perform the monitoring can be done using Cloudwatch and Cloudtrail, because Cloudwatch can be used as a monitoring. However, Cloudtrail is mainly responsible for performance enhancement. These can be used. Another thing is VPC endpoint. So what VPC endpoint does is say it enables EC2 instances to use their private IP instead of public IP addresses to access DynamoDB database. So here using VPC endpoints, we can allow EC2 instances or applications, say for example, which is hosted on one of the EC2 instances, to use their private IP address, so that we can secure the connection in a better way. So these are some of the things with respect to data. Now let's talk about these are the use cases when we talk about Amazon DynamoDB service. The very first use case is advertising technology. So ad tech companies use DynamoDB as a key value store. So the key value is, you can say, these are the attributes, you can say, like there is this value. Say for example, key value will be, we can use the example of key value as department equal to say finance. So here department will be key and finance will be value. So DynamoDB, so ad tech industries or ad tech company use it as a key value store for storing various kinds of marketing data such as user profiles, user events, clicks and visited links. So that is mainly used in the advertisement technology ad tech companies. Gaming, it is mainly used because it performs all capabilities of game platforms including game state, player data, session history and leaderboards. Everything will be stored in DynamoDB, hence, and along with that, because of its performance, it's being used in the gaming industry vastly. In retail industries, say mainly retail companies uses common DynamoDB design pattern to deliver consistently low latency for mission critical use cases such as shopping carts, workflow engines, inventory tracking, fulfillment, customer profiles and accounts. As we all know, like when we are using any retail platform, so here there the performance is very important. Say for example, you are doing online shopping. In that case, you have selected a product, and that product you have moved to cart. So after moving to the cart, it will be, we will need to, the very first thing that it has to do is to verify user identity, whether the product is available in that particular region and other things before we can make the payment. So it is mainly used in the retail industry as well. Then talking about some more use cases are media and entertainment. So DynamoDB can be used in the media and entertainment industry. Then software and internet. So in case of software internet, so DynamoDB has proven a record of being able to handle internet scale requirement while maintaining consistent single-digit millisecond latency to accommodate extreme concurrency request rates and spikes in the traffic. So because of this requirement, that is critical requirement, so it is being in the software and internet industry as well. And in the banking and finance also DynamoDB is being used because of the common use cases include user transactions, event-driven transaction processing, fraud detection, mainframe offloading and change data captures, etc. So because of these things, it is also being used in the banking and finance. So these are some of the use cases only, but I'm sure there are other use cases as well where DynamoDB is being used because of its main thing is millisecond of latency. So very low latency in single digit millisecond is the very important feature, or you can say benefit of using DynamoDB. Now let's summarize what are the things that we learned today. Basically, DynamoDB is nothing but it's a fully managed, fast and flexible NoSQL database service for all applications that need consistent single digit millisecond. So this is the most important thing, single digit millisecond latency at any scale. So wherever there is such a requirement, DynamoDB is being used instead of RDS. Okay. And another thing is its flexible data model. We have seen the use cases like it's being used in the gaming, mobile and software and internet, ad tech companies, etc. So these are some of the use cases where it's being used. In DynamoDB, there are main components are tables, items and attributes that we are seeing in using an example. Attribute we can say as a column and items we can say as a rows. So using attribute will form items, and a group of items will form a tables. Also, yeah, a table is a collection of items and each item is collection of attributes. That's what we exactly just mentioned. So the performance is higher in case of DynamoDB because it stores the data on SSD storage rather than the normal general purpose storage. It is using the SSD, and hence there are no moving part and the performance is very high. Data is spread across 3 geographically distinct data centers. So there will be 3 copies of data that is stored in the DynamoDB database, and there is a read consistency. So we are seeing we have eventual read consistency, that is default read consistency, and There is a strong consistency, read consistency as well, based on when the data needs to be read, whether in the first second of data being written or after that. So based on that, read consistency is dependent. And with respect to security, so the security in the DynamoDB is achieved using encryption at rest with the help of KMS, and we can also limit the access to, like who can access the DynamoDB. So the access can be limited using the different options like site-to-site VPNs, direct connect, then IAM policies and roles. So using IAM policies, we can allow entire DynamoDB to be accessed, or few of the attributes rather than entire database. So that we can limit using IAM policies and rules. Then monitoring and performance can be achieved using Cloudwatch and Cloudtrail, and we also have VPC endpoints. So where we can so there is application hosted on EC2 instance. So using VPC endpoints, we can allow EC2 instance to use its private IP. As we know, there are two IP addresses. One is private IP address, which is internal, and another is public IP address. So instead of public IP address, we can allow private IP address to access the DynamoDB in case of VPC endpoints. So that is that's all for today, friends. I hope you got some idea, and this was just theoretical session. In the upcoming session, we will see advanced DynamoDB features like DynamoDB accelerator, how we can use the data migration services, as well as we will also try to perform a demo of DynamoDB. So please like, share and comment and subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's Cloud with Mohsin, and happy learning to you all. Okay, thank you. Bye bye.